Chapter 25. When Festus came into the province after 3 days, he went up to Jerusalem from Caesarea. Then the high priest and the chief of the Jews made a representation against Paul and appealed to him, asking a favor against him, that he would send him to Jerusalem, forming an ambush to put him to death on the way. Festus answered that Paul should be kept at Caesarea, for he himself would soon leave. Therefore he said, "Those among you in power, let them go down with me. If there is anything in this man, let them accuse him." When he had spent more than 10 days among them, he departed to Caesarea, and the next day sat down on the judgment seat and commanded Paul to be brought. When he had come, the Jews who had come from Jerusalem came around him and laid many grievous charges against Paul that they could not prove. He said in his defense, "Neither against the law of the Jews, nor against the temple, nor against Caesar have I sinned." But Festus, willing to do the Jews a pleasure, answered Paul and said, "Will you go to Jerusalem and there be judged of these things before me?" Then Paul said, "I stand before the judgment seat of Caesar, where I ought to be judged. To the Jews I have done nothing wrong, as also you know very well. If I have hurt them or committed anything worthy of death, I do not refuse to die. But if there is nothing to these things whereof they accuse me, no man ought to deliver me to them. I appeal to Caesar." Then Festus, having conferred with the council, answered, "You have appealed to Caesar? To Caesar you shall go." Then after some days had passed, King Agrippa and Bernice came to Caesarea to salute Festus. And when they had been there many days, Festus related the things of Paul to the king, saying, "There is a man left in prison by Felix, about whom, when I came to Jerusalem, the high priests and elders of the Jews asked judgment against him. To whom I answered, It is not the manner of the Romans to deliver up any man who is accused before he has the opportunity to face his accusers to offer a defense concerning the accusation. Therefore, they having come together here, without delay, the next day I sat on the judgment seat commanding the man to be brought forth, concerning whom, when the accusers stood up, they brought no charges of such things as I supposed, but had certain questions against him of their own superstition and of one Jesus, who was dead, who Paul affirmed to be alive. But being perplexed concerning this inquiry, I asked him whether he would be willing to go to Jerusalem and there be judged concerning these things. But Paul, himself having appealed to be kept for the decision of Caesar, I commanded him to be kept until I might send him to Caesar. Agrippa said unto Festus, I would also like to hear the man myself. Then he said, Tomorrow you shall hear him. Therefore on the next day, when Agrippa and Bernice came with great pomp and had entered into the hall with the captains and chief men of the city at Festus's command, Paul was brought forth. And Festus said, King Agrippa, and all men that are here present with us, you see this man, about whom all the multitude of the Jews have pleaded with me, both at Jerusalem and also here, crying that he ought not to live any longer. Yet I found that he has committed nothing worthy of death. Yet because he has appealed to Augustus, I have determined to send him, of whom I have no certain thing to write unto my Lord. Therefore I have brought him unto you, and especially before you, King Agrippa, that after examination I might have something to write. For I think it is unreasonable to send a prisoner and not to signify the charges that are laid against him.